Okay, now let's say you have some more requirement. Like, okay, this is printing out to the console, but you do want to save it to a file, let's say. So what are you gonna do if you want to save all those to our file? The simple thing is you will go into the post, and over here you'll just create a new method, something like public void, let's say log file, and we have to specify where do we want to save, so database, and let's keep a file name as a string, and let's do bool overwrite. So this means like if the file exists already, do we want to replace it or create a new one? So, and what we'll do over here is file dot. Yeah, I just had this Visual Studio for this purpose. So let's just import system.io. And what we'll do is we'll append all text actually. And the name of the file name is file name. And what do we want to store in the file? That comes from the DB as a toString. Okay, so this method is used to store all those posts in a file. So if we go to the program, we can just call that method over here. So what we want to do is after console logging, we can just do post and call that method called, what did we call? We call it log file, and we are passing we're passing DB, and let's say the name of the file is post.txt, and we want to overwrite it. Yep. So if we run this now, okay, we have two posts, and if we close this and go to the file, and let's go to the bin, debug. Yep, we can see post over here, and this is here. So we are storing that in our file too. Okay, so we have successfully saved all those posts to the file, but there is something wrong. So this class is a post which is responsible to create a post. But there is another method called log file, and this will actually save all those posts to the file. So that means like a single class has two responsibility. So we are violating our first principle, which is single responsibility principle. So it says one class should have just one responsibility. But over here we are having two responsibility. So this is not the right way. So how do we fix this? It is kind of simple. We'll just move this line to our next file. So let's just cut this out. And over here, let's create a new file. So I will name it as a file logger. Now let's create it as a public. And over here, we'll just paste it. Okay. So let's just import a couple of things, system.io, and let's just import our database. So we want to change something over here. It is always not certain we're going to pass database over here, right? It can be database sometimes, or like it can be list, array, or like it can actually be some real database. So we want to make it generic. And instead of doing database, we will give it a name as TS an object. And over here, we will actually use those little string formatter. So what I'll do is I'll just give it an object, and okay. And like right now it works fine, but the thing is it will append everything to a file. So if we have like, let's say, let's go to our file. Right now we will have these two posts, and if we run this program, it will just append it below. It will never clear the old stuffs out. So we will have to tweak it a little bit. So what I'm gonna do is create something called, again, boolean clear equal to true. And over here, actually, I want to have some if statement. So let's do if clear And if its override is true, and if the file exists. So what we want to do in this case is we just let's do okay. So let's keep our file name, and we're gonna replace everything with the empty text. So like whatever is there, just replace it with the empty text. And after that, we wanna set our flag to false, so it will not replace it again and again. And finally, I want to append it. Okay, so we have this file logger over here. Okay, that means our post class is clean, and now we have to make some modification in the program class. So over here, now what we have to do is we'll actually create a file logger. And let's do new file logger. And this is a generic type, so we have to pass some object. So in our case, it is a database that we are passing, right? So it will be just database. Now over here, instead of post, it will be file logger. There we go. Now if we run, this should be working fine. And if I go take a look at the post, it still works. So we have just followed the first principle correctly. That means like our post class had just one responsibility, that is creating a post. Now if we want to save it to a file, it is the job of file logger. It is no longer responsibility of this post class. Each class will have its own responsibility. So we are complying to our first principle.